Here we go.
What's up? Yo, how you feeling out there? You know what I'm saying? Fashionable blew up. So let's move on. We got a year to hit, right? Whatever, man. I want to give a fat shout out to my man Caramel Studios 262. Gimba music coming at ya, live and direct. Yo, this goes out to everybody that's been with Mizchif since day one. You know what I'm saying? This is for you. This goes out to you. You know what I'm saying? Feel me on this. From a boy to a man, I left you down on bended knees. I saw you froze when I yelled.
Yeah, for those who know, that is Mizchif. All the areas was quite an event when it happened, and it was pretty much the first song that sounded like raw hip hop that basically went nationwide on the radio waves. There's a story behind that, and the story is, I suppose I want to tell the story because it's part cautionary, part history. I'm sure it'll be interesting to some people. So I'd worked with Mizchif from, I suppose, the early to mid 90s. Well, through a big part of the 90s. We did quite a bit of things together. We had worked on a few songs that's never been heard. And all the areas was something that just happened quite spontaneously. What had happened was in the late 80s, one of my crew, my breakdance crew in the jam rock crew, he could play piano. Dalton Malambo, Dr. Dalton Malambo as he is now, one of two doctors in my breakdance crew. He taught me the opening chords of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, Moonlight Sonata. And for years, that's the only thing I could play is the opening of Moonlight Sonata. And whenever I got a keyboard sound or piano or some sound on a nice sounding piano, that's what I would play just to hear what the sound patch sounded like. And I put together, so I did that for a while because I couldn't play keyboards. And then sometime in the mid 90s, I got a hold of a Korg M1. The Korg M1 was at that point the biggest sounding synthesizer in the world. I got a hold of the rack mount version, the Korg M1R. And just to get used to the sounds, I played around with some of the sounds, and one day I just created a piece of music, and it sounded like this. That is the same chords as Moonlight Sonata, but I'm just chopping it up. And I just did this in my bedroom, like sometime in the maybe 96, 95, 96. Anyway, so I did that piece of music and straight to a DAT machine, and it sat there for a couple of years. And then one day I was at the Studio 262 in town, and I was sampling some raw sounds, and that piece of music always was in the back of my mind. And I was sampling these real gritty raw drum samples and chopping them up and making a raw sound. And one of the things that I always like to do when I make a hardcore raw beat, I always like to put something pretty in it. And if I make like a pretty beautiful melodic song, I always like to put something raw in it. So because this beat was so gritty and grungy and raw, I thought of this piece of music that I had done with the Korg M1. And I just so I combined the two. I reprogrammed it on my W30 sampler, and as I was putting the song together, Mizchif walked into the studio. He would pop in every now and then, and he said, "Oh, Caramel, what's that beat?" And I said, it's just something I'm putting together." And he said, "I got something for that." And I said, "Okay." And then I was that time. I don't think I had a computer. I was recording on a Roland VS880 8-track digital hard disk recorder. I was recording on that machine. So I synced up my sampler to the recorder, and I hit record, and Mizchif just tracked the he just tracked the vocals. I think it was like one or two passes, a backup vocal. Yeah, I think it was like one pass and a backup vocal, and that was it. And I said, "Okay, that's dope. Let me just put things together. Give me a minute." And I did. I think I transferred it onto a CD, and I said he was leaving, so I just gave him the CD to listen to at home, just for something for him to have, just a rough copy, and with the intention that I'm going to polish the song and finish it and work on it more. Anyway, that session ended. Um, I continued working on it for a while and put it away for a while, but I was really feeling it, and I was waiting for Mizchif to come back, and then I heard, oh, Mizchif's. I tried calling him, and then I heard, oh no, Mrs. is in Joburg. So I thought, okay, I'll wait till he gets back. And it just a couple of months went by, I think. And one night, I don't know where I was, and suddenly it's late at night on I don't know, Friday or Saturday, and I hear this beat on TV, and I'm like, oh, what? What's that? That sounds familiar. And then I hear the song, It's All the Areas. And I rush and I turn up the TV, and there I see a music video of Mizchif on All the Areas. I'm like, oh my, wow. And that was quite shocking to me because, yeah, I didn't know what was happening. So, like, I tried contacting Mizchif, and I'm like, okay. The show was, it was the Fat Joe show. Yeah, it was the Fat Joe show. And so at that time, I was, had somebody administering my publishing. And because I couldn't get a hold of Mizchif at the time, um, we found out that there was a CD and it was being released. Okay. And I eventually found a copy of it. And oh, wow, okay. It's Life from All Angles, or whatever the CD album was. And the music video was playing quite a bit. And at that point, my publisher, contacted because because the video played on the Fat Joe show. So the Fat Joe show was produced by Red Pepper Pictures. So it wasn't in my hands. So the publisher contacted Red Pepper Pictures and inquiring about the song and where it came from. And then we discovered that, no, it's something that Red Pepper Pictures did themselves. They shot the video, and okay. And then we explained the situation with the song, that I recorded the song and I produced the song, We didn't know that somebody released it, and certainly no rights or anything had been sorted out. So, in the end, they made a deal where they said, okay, they'll forego all the rights to the song as they didn't have the rights for the song to release it commercially. Um, and it was so it's fine. So I retained the rights of the license of the song in exchange for whatever royalties had been accrued at the time period that they were selling or whatever. It wasn't a big deal to me. It was just like shocking that the song that I would just working on just appeared without me knowing. Um, there was no malice or there was nothing behind it. I was just wanting to know what's happening. Um, Mizchif, I think, may have felt that I was coming after him. That was not so. He had gone. He was starting to do things and getting into Channel O and doing all the other little things that he was doing. And I was wanting to continue to work with him, but I think he may have thought that I was mad at him or something. That was never the case. But I think he was kind of like dodging me after that, like not dodging, but avoiding me. Um, so yeah, that's the story of that. But the truth is, if it wasn't for Mizchif taking that song and releasing that song. By the way, this song was completely unmixed. The song that everybody heard, the song played on radio stations all around the country for a long time. And it was the first time that a song that sounded like hip hop, like rap, like gritty beats, was on commercial radio. At that point, people were not heavy into sampling, so a lot of the rap that was making onto radio stations sounded like synthesizer modules, people getting sample libraries or synthesizers that had beats in them. People were not, there wasn't a whole bunch of hip hop happening that sounded like hip hop at that point. It was very pop sounding. It just didn't have the authenticity. So all the areas was the local song that broke that mold, even though it was a completely unmixed, rough, raw recording. And I have to thank Mizchif for taking it and putting it out there without me laboring on it. And it was a learning curve for me because I discovered that sometimes laboring over a song for ever and ever and ever till it's perfect doesn't always result in success. And that was one of the lessons where I saw that if you have the fundamentals correct in the beginning of a song, it doesn't matter what happens, how much you fine tune it. The fundamentals are correct. That beat was dope. The vocals and the lyrics and the hook, Mizchif calling out all the areas around South Africa, just made everybody identify with it, or because he was calling your area. And yeah, if it wasn't for Mizchif doing that, maybe the song would have just been sitting there. I had a whole bunch of stuff with Mizchif that's sitting on a DAT or on a CD somewhere that I have to get an old machine to access. I think I had a whole EP of like really dope stuff of Mizchif's that's never been heard. But yeah, like rest in peace to Mizchif, and thanks to Mizchif for doing that. There's lots of stories where somebody took an unmixed song and just took it away from the artist or producer and released it, and it did something. And with that song, Mizchif did something. Unfortunately, I think Red Pepper Pictures got a bit nervous about a publisher contacting them, so they pulled that video off TV. It was playing for a while, and then Red Pepper Pictures didn't want any hassle, so I think they pulled the video, and I never saw the video again. which is unfortunate because it had a lot of momentum on radio. So yeah, that's just a little story of all the areas, and peace to Mischief. I've no malice. I really like Mischief. It's I was very sad and disappointed that when I heard of his passing, because I always felt that we had unfinished business, like that we had all this music that we had shared and we'd done together, that nobody heard. A lot of the songs that I worked on with him, he re-recorded in other forms from his subsequent albums. To me, this is just a producer thing, but they didn't sound quite as tight because, yeah, they didn't have that raw feel. But Mischief was a outstanding lyricist. Not only a lyricist, he was a performer. He sounded good. His cadence was good. His lyrics were good. It's more than just lyrics, and it's more than just rapping on a beat. Mischief had it. Yeah, that's just the story of how all the areas got out there.